Remember those commercials from the 1980s? The ones with the silver-haired couple laughing on a sailboat, clinking champagne glasses, looking like they just unlocked the cheat code to life? They sold us a pretty picture. They told us that if we worked hard, followed the rules, and dutifully stuffed cash into our 401ks, that one day, that sailboat would be ours. But fast forward to 2024, and the sailboat is gone. It has been replaced by a 70-year-old greeter at Walmart, wearing a blue vest, forcing a smile while standing on swollen ankles for minimum wage. We call this retirement, but let's be honest, it is barely survival. Here is the part they do not tell you in the brochures. The very concept of a safe, secure retirement was not the default setting of human history. It was a glitch, a 30-year historical anomaly that we tricked ourselves into believing was permanent. And spoiler alert, that glitch has been patched. The version of retirement you were promised is dead. You were unknowingly part of a failed financial experiment, a massive gamble where the house always wins. In this video, we are going to expose why work until you die is not just a dark joke anymore. It is literally the new macroeconomic business plan. To understand how we got here, look at this chart. That line plunging straight into hell represents defined benefit plans. Back in 1980, if you worked at a decent company, you had a pension. It was a promise written in stone. Today, that line is basically flatlining. The pension is an endangered species, hunted to extinction by corporate cost cutters. So who killed it? Well, it wasn't a murder, it was an accident. Specifically, a legislative accident in the late 1970s. The 401k was never designed to be the primary savings vehicle for an entire nation. It was essentially a tax loophole, a tiny perk for high-earning executives to dodge the IRS for a few more years. Even the guy who invented it, a consultant named Ted Benna, has looked at what his creation has become and admitted, quote, "I created a monster." Imagine that. The architect of the modern retirement system looks at it with the same regret as Dr. Frankenstein looking at his creature destroying a village. But why does this feel like a crisis right now? Because for 40 years, this was all theoretical. It was just numbers on a quarterly statement. But now, the first generation of guinea pigs, the late boomers and Gen X, are reaching the finish line. And surprise, the math does not work. They are opening those accounts expecting a golden parachute and finding a used napkin at an IOU. The experiment is over, the results are in, and millions of people are realizing they have been betting on a losing horse their entire adult lives. Let's break this down with a metaphor so simple it hurts. Imagine the old pension system was like a premium lifetime subscription to Netflix. As long as you did your job, the company paid the monthly bill. It did not matter if the stock market crashed or if the price of streaming went up. The company promised you the service, and they were legally on the hook to deliver it until the day you died. If you lived to be 105, that was the company's problem, not yours. But the modern retirement system, the 401k, is nothing like that. It's a self-service casino. You walk in, you buy your own chips with your own salary, you sit at the slot machine, and you pull the lever. If the market tanks the year you plan to quit, you lose. If you make the mistake of living too long, well, you run out of chips and get kicked out. Finance nerds have a fancy term for this. They call it risk transfer. It sounds boring, but it's actually brilliant in a sinister sort of way. Corporations realized that guaranteeing your future was a massive liability. It made their balance sheets look heavy and ugly. So they performed a magic trick. They took that trillion-dollar weight of market volatility and the risk of you simply refusing to die, known coldly as longevity risk, and they dumped it right onto your shoulders. They handed the financial controls to teachers, nurses, and truck drivers, people who are busy actually working for a living, and said, "Good luck beating the supercomputers on Wall Street." They did not give you financial freedom. They just gave you all the risk they were too scared to carry themselves. They love to blame demographics. They say, oh, people are just living too long, the math does not work because there are too many gray hairs. That is a convenient lie. The real villain here is not your longevity, It is financialization. Somewhere in a boardroom in the 80s, a CFO realized that a pension fund looks like a giant, ugly liability on the balance sheet. It scares away investors. But if you slash that pension, suddenly profits jump, stock prices soar, and coincidentally, the CEO's performance bonus gets a massive multiplier. They gutted your future to juice their quarterly earnings, plain and simple. Now, I hear the finance bros typing in the comments right now. But wait, 401ks give me freedom. I can be the master of my own destiny. Calm down, Wolf of Wall Street. That freedom is an illusion. You are not really free. You are just forced to participate. The entire system creates a mandatory funnel that forces your paycheck directly into the maw of Wall Street asset managers. Think about it. These funds take their management fees whether the market goes up, down, or circles the drain. They get paid to play. You only get paid if you win. The system was never designed to sustain you. It was designed to sustain them. And let's talk about the sheer audacity of the expectation. Society expects you to work a full-time job, raise a family, keep your sanity, and on top of all that, be a part-time hedge fund manager capable of navigating complex global markets. Because clearly, after a 10-hour shift and fighting traffic, the first thing you want to do is analyze bond yields and asset allocation strategies so you do not starve at 80. It is not just unrealistic, it's cruel. We have taken the safety of an entire generation and betted on the idea that average people can outsmart supercomputers. Spoiler alert, they cannot. So, where does that leave us? Let's look at the scoreboard, and fair warning, it's a bloodbath. If you check the median retirement savings account for people inching closer to 60, it is not the millions that financial gurus tell you you need. It's usually sitting somewhere in the low 5 figures. That is not a retirement fund. That is a used Camry and a few months of rent. And while that number sits stagnant, the cost of existing is sprinting away from you. We call it the inflation monster, but specifically, medical inflation. Your body breaks down just as the cost to fix it skyrockets. It eats through compound interest faster than you can earn it. So, what is the play here? I wish I could tell you there's a secret government code or a hidden bank account. There isn't. We are entering damage control mode. The reality is, you have 2 choices, and both of them suck. Option A is aggressive lifestyle deflation. You don't just cut coupons, you cut your entire standard of living. You move to a smaller house or a cheaper state or a cheaper country. You survive by shrinking your world. Option B is semi-retirement, which is just a polite corporate euphemism for working until you physically can't anymore. You trade the corner office for a barista apron, not because you love coffee, but because you need the health insurance. And please, whatever you do, do not let the panic take the wheel. The sharks smell blood in the water. This is prime hunting season for get-rich-quick scammers targeting desperate seniors. If someone promises you 20% returns to catch up fast, run. The only thing worse than being old and broke is being old, broke, and scammed. Here's the hard truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Retirement, as a distinct stage of life where you do nothing but relax and consume, is going extinct. We are not moving forward into a leisure-filled utopia, we are sliding backward. We are returning to the pre-industrial default setting, where you work until your body gives out, and then you hope your family likes you enough to keep you alive. The vacation is over. So, how do you win a rigged game? You stop playing by their rules. True financial freedom is not about accumulating a magical number on a screen so you can buy a slightly better version of the life you already hate. It is about realizing that the entire system of consumerism was built to keep you on the treadmill. They want you terrified of poverty so you keep working, and they want you addicted to comfort so you keep spending. They built a system designed to milk you for every cent, even when you're old and gray. The only way out is to need less, to detach your sense of worth from your credit card limit. That is the only retirement plan they cannot touch. But if you want to understand exactly how the invisible tax of inflation is planning to eat whatever scraps you do manage to save, you might want to subscribe, because the lesson is not over.
Class is still in session.